if you outsource, then you no longer have the ability to say, I don't really want to do this thing anymore. You are forced to have to compete. I mean, just even think about our oil markets, right? We talk about, oh, we have a global oil market. Well, yeah, it's true, but a global oil market that's controlled by basically three nations. I mean, they say five, but it's really like three. It's more like one, Saudi Arabia. But that's because in our desire to be able to have cheap, reliable energy, we allowed them to have this monopoly. And then we stunted our own development with so many other new ways that we can create energy. I mean, it's kind of crazy when you think about the downstream effects of giving away and trading away your sovereignty from an economic standpoint of what that does. It creates this incentive structure that those that are investing over in oil and investing over in other nations are then going to lobby our legislature to go and create laws that will be regulatory hurdles so you can't break free from that. And that goes all the way back to, well, you've traded away your sovereignty. Other nations' interests have a greater impact on what you want to do as a nation. And so even if you decide to change your mind, which is what we're seeing right now, it's going to be very painful.
So, really, what you've, and I just want you to correct me if I'm wrong because I'm trying to interpret for myself what I'm hearing you say. There's safety. And what you're saying to me, and you're going to have to correct me if I'm wrong, please.
Sure.
It's turned out that maybe for a long period of time, globalism was securing that safety.
Yeah.
And then it played itself out, became diminishing returns. And now sovereignty has returned in the minds of the populist conservative as the most effective means of providing for that safety. Is that what you're trying to say to
Yes.
me?
Hey, man, you summed that up perfect, brother. Yeah. No,
Okay.
100%.
So then let's talk about what is sovereignty. Because now because we could go into this popcorn, all these different policy points, but that's,
Sure. Sure. Sure.
that's kind of petty.
Yeah.
I'm looking for the big issues so that the people that are listening tonight can understand that this is a national committee, man. And not everybody on that national committee believes this, I'm sure.
Oh, of course not.
So what you're doing is you're kind of plowing new ground at your level. The ground I've been plowing, I've been doing this for a long time, but you're doing it at a very senior level to talk like this. So what is sovereignty then? Now we're down to what is it to be sovereign?
Right.
That because isn't that really because
Yes.
the neocon is going to say to be sovereign, we need to defend a democracy any place in the world
Yeah.
because that defends our interests.
Right.
Right? Can you?
And so this is, again, when you go down the list, when you get to sovereignty, it's about what are you doing from a populist perspective that is greatest for your people, your direct people, not other people, not some, maybe if this happens over in this country, this could eventually happen to the United States. No one's buying that anymore because they're not seeing what the advantages are.
Well, slow down. Slow your roll.
Yeah, yeah.
No, mostly, but there's an issue.
Sure.
And I went out in the last week, and I have to tell you, being born Jewish in Minnesota in the 50s, it's been a long road for me to say, I'm glad I'm in the United States of America.
Sure.
So we have this last issue. I mean, we're pretty there, but there's a lot of people like Representative Don Bacon of Nebraska,
Yeah, he loves war, man.
who is, well, let me tell you, I'm going to tell you something. People are going to be listening. I happen to be looking at Representative Tom Emmer's expenditures.
Sure.
He's contributing to Don Bacon's campaign.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Just bookmarked. I don't know what that means.
Sure.
I'm not sitting in Representative Emmer's chair.
Sure.
I'm sure he'd have an explanation for it.
Yeah.
But to me, it's quite symbolic. So there seems to me to be through the party still a desire, and particularly when it gets down to Israel.
Yeah.
That's where we've got these cleaves in the party along this PopCon issue.
Yeah.
One is Ukraine, and that's still an issue.
Sure.
Still an issue.
Yeah.
But it's less of an issue than the Israel issue, because if your comment is, why are we helping all these other countries? Is that not what you said?
Yes. Now,
Please flesh this out now.
Now, I want to be very specific. I'm not saying that we don't work with other countries, for sure, right? We work with other countries, but we have to get something of value that is significant to us. Because if there is nothing of value to us, that trade-off to me is worthwhile. It's worthless. It's not worth anything. So, in a country like Ukraine versus a country like Israel, I think that Israel offers us a significant number of technological advantages. Okay. Like if you just break it down, man, the thing that we give them is we give them weapons, they give us technology. Now, the weapons have a dollar amount attached to it, but it's actually been a pretty good trade. Now, I will say that where I get very hesitant now is if Israel says, we're going to go and bomb Iran, you got our back, right? We should say, hey, man, if you want to do that, cool, but that's on you, right? Like, I think we have to be very important to say, Israel, do your thing, man. But if you want us to be involved in your fights, physically sending troops to support you, never going to happen, my friend. Now, if you get attacked unprovoked, right? Maybe that changes the dynamic a little bit. But if you want to go out there and you want to do whatever you're going to do as a nation, understand that we're not just going to carte blanche have your back. But again, I still would say that if I would have to sacrifice a single American far left Marxist instead of a Israeli citizen, I'm going to sacrifice the Israeli citizen every single time because I care about my American citizen. And so I think that this is where this trade-off happens.
This is the heart of the deal. Now
Yeah.
we're into it now.
Yeah.
Man, you went out there. You not only went out on a limb, you jumped.
Yeah.
And I did too this week. And it's because we're on the precipice. And President Trump, and I'm just going to say this as a sidebar. I've got people in the party in the Republican Party that have Trump derangement syndrome.
Oh, yeah.
And they're texting me every day and I haven't watched President Trump in months. And I'll tell you why. I'm so interested in what's happening in SD45 and what's happening in CD3. I can't affect President Trump, and I don't do politics for entertainment. I agree with you. I want to build out the party.
Yeah.
So let me tell you, all you people out there, there's a way to do it. It's called peer-to-peer interaction.
Yeah.
You either like it or you do. You either like to cold call or you don't. Like we're in the tire business here. If you need tires, it's tireget.com. Got the new mic sleeve working. You have to cold call. You have to do things that are uncomfortable. And you've done something extraordinarily uncomfortable because in front of a very large audience, you've laid down some markers about what PopCon is. And what I'm hearing you say is we're looking for safety as individuals, not the elites. That's why it's populism.
Right.
Right?
Right.
The populace is looking for safety. Globalism has taken us to the point where it's both economically and militarily unsafe. And the people are looking to pull back from internationalist obligations and internationalist risks and focus on our country. Is it just that simple?
It is. And listen, I believe that America, as being this, we'll call it the shining light on the hill that has been used forever, I want other countries to emulate us. I do. But we're not going to force it. And that's up to them to decide what they want. And I believe that we have actually stunted our ability to grow probably since the 70s. I think that we would be at a much higher pace if we wouldn't have given into that temptation that was sold to us about spreading globalism everywhere, especially in the 90s with all these free trade agreements, which again, this is hard for me to say because when I came into the Republican Party in Minnesota in 2006, knowing really nothing about political philosophy or ideology, I was like, free market capitalism, there's no such thing as a bad trade deal. But when I look at it, I'm like, I still believe in the idea that free market and capitalism are good. Like I love capitalism, don't get me wrong, and free markets. But the question is, what is a free market? Like truly, what is a free market? It means that there's no obstacles to being able to trade and that these leverage points that other nations are using against us means that we actually don't have free trade agreements. We don't, right? What we actually have to give up in order to compete is unfair. And that's why, to bring it to the tariffs, that's what Trump is attempting to do. Is just say, like, that's why he said reciprocal. We're going to go reciprocal with everything. You charge us this much for tariffs, we're going to charge you this much for tariffs. Now, that at a rudimentary level doesn't even scratch all the other obligations that actually exist. between our nations, but America has been taken advantage of all of these other nations in these trade agreements. But again, when you get back to how does that affect what a populace is in Minnesota, you have to say all of these markers that have been used and employed by the Republican Party no longer attuned to what a populace wants. And so we can't be the party that's for the forever wars, that's for having our manufacturing shipped off to other countries. We have to actually support policies that will allow Minnesotans and Americans to make what is good for us here and have control over that.